He's the popular Peter King, Football Morning in America columnist, and, of course, contributor to Football Night in America. Day one of free agency. Who stood out, good or bad, Pete?
I think the Los Angeles Chargers have virtually remade their team in the last 7 days, signing Mike Williams to a big deal so they keep, Justin Herbert's really become his favorite receiver. Then they go out and trade for Khalil Mack, who none of us really know how much he has left, but clearly at age 31, he becomes the piece that kind of Von Miller became for Aaron Donald with the Rams. And then they go out and they get the best corner on the market. J.C. Jackson has got more interceptions than anybody in the last 4 years in the NFL. And I think, and they get Sebastian Joseph Data as a space eater in the middle of their defensive line. What the Chargers said in essence was what Brandon Staley told me at the scouting combine. We are going to become a deep team. And that's what they are becoming right now. When he was the defensive coordinator of the Rams 2 years ago, he had a lot more depth on his side of the ball. And that is what, in my opinion, this early portion of free agency in the Mack trade does to the Chargers. They've been the most aggressive and most impressive team so far.
I thought the Jags made some moves. The Bengals made some moves, shored up the offensive line. Is there maybe that big weapon still out there that you think some teams are going to be fighting over?
I don't think so, Dan. I think that this is probably the sanest first 24 hours of the free agent signing period that I've seen in a long time, because there are still some very good players out there. There's a cornerback, Darius Williams, who a year ago was probably a top 5 corner in the NFL. He's still very highly regarded. He's young. He's waiting to strike it rich. So there are players who the NFL is saying, we like you, but we're not going to pay a ransom for you. There are very few ransoms this year as opposed to last year in the first 24 hours.
Do you like what the Steelers did or the Commanders did at quarterback more?
Mike Florio had a great line about Carson Wentz, is that finally he has been kicked out of the house. You know, he came into the NFL and there was, his 2 most important guys were Doug Peterson and Frank Reich. Well, Doug Peterson, benched him, and the Eagles divorced him. And then he went to his safe haven, Frank Reich. Well, after 1 year, that's over. Now he goes to where nobody knows him. And he basically has got to convince everybody, hey, I am still the quarterback you saw in 2017 before I suffered this knee injury. And I think mentally, this is the best thing for him. He's been thrown out by the 2 people who have liked him the most in the NFL. Now, I probably like Washington a little bit more than Pittsburgh because we still are not convinced at all that Mitchell Trubisky is a good NFL quarterback. And he benefited, Dan, he benefited greatly by not playing last year. So think about that. He played for Brian Daboll and Sean McDermott, but he never played. So the point is, he looked great in practice. So what? What does that mean? We still don't know. The thing I like about this from the Steelers' point of view is, let's say he has 2 great years, the next 2 years, and proves that he's the successor to Ben Roethlisberger. His contract maxes out at $27 million over 2 years. He's still going to be incredibly cheap. Yeah. So the way I look at this is, I think the Steelers did a smart thing. I just still have no idea if Mitchell Trubisky's really any good.
Tom Brady retiring or unretiring more surprising to you?
Oh, probably about equal, because I think we all knew that there was a good chance he was going to come back. And now that we saw how he came back, Dan, he had to come back. If he was going to come back, he had to come back by Sunday. Now, with some hindsight, we understand. He wanted Ryan Jensen badly. I think if you look at the guys who he really wants back, it's Ryan Jensen, Rob Gronkowski. Those to me
Chris Godwin,
are one and 1A, and then comes Chris Godwin. But Ryan Jensen is the most important to him because he's already lost, a Pro Bowl guard in Ali Marpet, who was not coming back. He's retired. And then he knew they were going to lose Alex Kappa to free agency. He could not come back to a totally denuded interior offensive line. And when you look at what Ryan Jensen meant to him, he's got a little S streak to him, where, he's not a friendly guy out there. That's what Brady wants when he's in the middle of these little battles he's having. And so I think it was really important that he gets him back. So Tom Brady Sunday told the Bucs, you better get Ryan Jensen back. And then he told Ryan Jensen, look, I'm fighting for you. Don't agree anywhere else before, you get absolutely as far down the road as you can with the Bucs. Sunday night at 11 o'clock, his agent, Mike McCartney, tweets that this deal is done. That was crucial. But I think in general, I don't think this is that complicated, Dan. Jim Gray told me on Sunday night, essentially, Tom Brady doesn't want to be watching TV in September and look at the TV and said, I'm as good or better than any of these guys.
Michael Jordan still watches NBA games, Peter, and probably thinks the same thing.
Hey, Joe Theismann thought it until maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So you're right about that. I'm sure Michael Jordan. Hey, look, Michael Jordan could go out right now on a given night and score 20. We're all convinced of that. But the question is, what does that mean? The difference is that Tom Brady last year had his most productive year, statistically, since the Randy Moss year in 2007. He did that at 44. Dan, one of the other guys who knows Tom Brady very well, told me yesterday, said, here's the other thing about Brady that people have to realize. Nothing hurts. He's not in any pain. Last year, a year ago, he had to have that surgery with Neil Elitrosh to repair his knee. And so he had to go through a bunch of rehab in the offseason. Right now, no surgery, no rehab. Arm doesn't hurt, shoulder doesn't hurt, knee doesn't hurt. He's fine. So, he still really loves doing this more than anything else. As long as his family's okay with it, and they appear to be very okay with it, why not?
He's Peter King, the must-read column every Monday morning, Football Morning in America. What do you make of the Aaron Rodgers contract details there that $150 million over the next 3 years with the first 2 years fully guaranteed?
I think what it said to me was, so it's going to be very hard for Aaron Rodgers to walk away after 1 year, clearly. And when I read that and look at that, I look and say, okay, mentally, Aaron Rodgers says, I'm playing the next 2 years. That's what I think. And the only thing about this, Dan, that to me is a little bit troubling for the Packers is that they have to sign Davante Adams. And, I don't take what he said yesterday, which is I'm not playing for the franchise tag. I don't take that all that seriously, but I think what the Packers probably should do is sign Davante Adams to a 4-year or 5-year contract, but with these kind of dead years at the end, the phony years where there's a good chance that's going to be it. When I look and see Rodgers' contract, the one thing I say is he's on that team for the next 2 years. Davante Adams has his godfather for the next 2 years. So he's going to make a lot of money the next 2 years. And are the Packers going to be okay enough by pushing a lot of money into the future to make sure that they have Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams through the last game of 2023.
What are the Browns doing by talking to, interviewing, flirting with Deshaun Watson?
I mean, I think they sit here right now and think at best there's a 50-50 chance that Baker Mayfield's our guy long term. Maybe some people in the organization think it's 60-40, that a healthy Baker Mayfield is going to be good enough for them to contend to go deep into the playoffs next year. But probably what they're thinking is, here's a guy who, if we can withstand the storm of everything that's going to come at Deshaun Watson in these civil suits for the next year or so, if we can withstand that, if we can withstand a lot of our customers being supremely ticked off that the billboard of our franchise is going to be a guy who currently is being accused by 22 women of sexual impropriety. Dan, I just think, everybody is saying, oh, let's go get Deshaun Watson. I mean, this is not gone away. Criminally, it's gone away for the time being, probably forever. But how about in the court of public opinion and in the court of civil legalities? He really still, this is not over. And so I just think you have to have a certain belief in Deshaun Watson. I talked to one general manager over the weekend, not Cleveland, but talked to one general manager over the weekend who asked me, which tells me everything you need to know. And I don't think he's going to end up going to this team, but how many of those 22 cases do you think go forward and are serious? So, it's clear that NFL decision makers want this to go away and believe that at one point it will go away. And we'll see if it does.
Thank you, Pete. Great to talk to you again. Have a great week.
All right. Thank you, Dan.
That's Peter King, Football Morning in America, must-read column by Pete.